Hello there, it's Al here from MBX. Lovely to have you back again. Today we talk on how to build self-confidence. Boy, do some people need self-confidence, and do you know what? There's so much to do, so many things to excel at, and yet we lack the confidence to do so. There's a few prerequisites, and number one is to be able to be self-confident, you have to be doing something pretty well. And to do something pretty well, you have to do a lot of it, mostly. It's called the 10,000 hours principle. I've spoken about this in the past. It holds true. If we do something for the mythical 10,000 hours, we shall become very good at it. If not master it, we'll become a master of something. That will bring us confidence to actually keep repeating that. So number one, we need to do the work to build confidence. We can't expect to be confident doing things unless we've done this work. So we have to do the work. So this brings us to the first thing we have to do when we do work, and that is persistence. We have to persist and persist. That's the 10,000 hours that I've spoken about. And once we persist, we start to develop something. And that's called a discipline. Discipline comes as a result of persistence. Obviously, they're linked. They're not the same. Discipline is something a little bit grander than persistence. Persistence is something, but discipline is something else, and they seem to link up together. I myself have a lot of discipline, and some people say I'm too disciplined. Nevertheless, I've done a lot of persisting over the years, and I'm terribly disciplined now, very disciplined now. So I know that persistence brings discipline. Once you have persistence with discipline, I've got to tell you something, it'll become a belief. And once you get a belief happening, beliefs are quite powerful. They're still linked to persistence and discipline, by the way. These are other things I've spoken about in other programs, but it's good going over it again. Once we get to that belief, we've now got more energy going into building self-belief, self-confidence. So we get to self-belief, it makes a bit of a transcending jump, I would say. It then becomes, if we keep up with the discipline and persistence, we must have discipline and persistence, persistence to discipline to belief. Once we have that, we'll be making a bit of a leap here. We'll go into faith. Faith is a little bit stronger again. It's an energy which has gained a bit of momentum from the earlier persistence to discipline to belief. It's now got a bit more energy, a bit more steam behind it, and now it's jumped into faith. Many people become quite faithful, and they persist and have discipline about that, and their beliefs are very strong. You keep this faith going with all this earlier stuff that we've already spoken about, persistence, discipline, belief. Keep it going, and boy, will it make a quantum leap. It'll make a quantum leap, all right. Excuse me. It'll go into now you just know. You know how good you are. You know that you can do this. You know that you've been going now for 10,000 hours. You know that you've mastered all the things when you started off you couldn't do. Just like when you rode a bike. Excuse me. How many times did you fall off, get up, fall off, get up? What would you call that? I'd call that persistence. You probably hurt yourself a few times. I'd call that discipline. I'd call that belief. You believed you could ride a bike. I'd call that faith. You had faith that you could stay on the bike for any length of time. And I know that in the end you just know how to ride a bike. When you were little, the same thing happened. At about 2, you started to walk. Firstly, it was very, very awkward. You fell down and got up again. Sometimes hurt yourself, hit your head, maybe even brought blood. But guess what? You persisted. You had discipline. And suddenly you believed you could walk, so you were off. Mum and Dad almost tried to stop you. Your belief was so strong because your belief jumped into faith. Look at me, Mum and Dad. Look at me. I can really walk around everywhere. Mum and Dad's eyes were popping out, wondering what you were going to do next. And then you just knew you could walk. You weren't happy with that. You jumped into faith. You jumped into running. You started to go even faster. You went faster and faster, fell down even more force. But guess what? All of those earlier things you kept doing, so finally you could run. This is what's happened all through your life, you know. You're confident that you can walk. You've got self-confidence that you can run. When you've developed the abilities to ride a bike, you're self-confident. that you can ride a bike. It's all the same process. When you went to school, the same thing happened. The teacher taught you something. It was repeated and repeated and repeated. What would you call that? It's persistence. It's the same thing, discipline. It's a belief. Yes, it's faith. Yes. And in the end, you know so much. You start to pass exams. You get some confidence. When someone shatters your confidence at school, the whole thing crumbles. And that's because you've taken it on board with their mind and you actually believe them. You've shattered your earlier belief and you believe someone else. This self-confidence that you're looking for, you've already got, You've got it in spades. You've got it everywhere. You've done it so many times, and yet you'll be listening today to me to tell you something about self-confidence. And you've already done it. You just don't need to listen to anyone. You've already got the belief. You've already got the persistence. You've already got the discipline. You've already got the faith. You just know. You know you can do all these things. Apply the same principles and the same thing will happen. What is it that you'd like to develop? First, identify it. Identify what it is. Go through the process again. Identify what you need to practice. If you need to get someone to help you to practice, like in my case it was a tennis coach, I was a tennis coach, of course that's what I did. I replicated persistence, discipline, over and over and over again. Hit thousands, literally thousands of forehands, thousands of backhands, volleys, smashes, serves. And suddenly the people that I was coaching, the kids that I was coaching, the adults that I was coaching, and the good players and the top players that I actually coached had tremendous knowing. They'd gone through all this. They'd done the 10,000 hours and suddenly they were masters. Some of them master tennis players. You can do this. There's no reason you can't go through this yourself. But first of all, you have to identify what is it you'd like to do with your life? What is it you'd like to do? Would you like to be able to sit in front of Facebook like this? There was one time, when I was much younger, I couldn't stand up in front of anyone and talk. Now, you can't stop me. It's only because I've gone through the same process. I used to do a lot of talking in my head when I was younger, but no talking out. Can you believe it? All I want to do now is talk out. The bigger the audience, the better. In those days, I'd be trying to actually stay away from audiences. So what did I do? Well, the same thing. I can tell you my experience, you need to do the same. If you want to talk in front of big audiences, which is one of the biggest fears in the world, is talking in front of people, you can do this. But first of all, you've got to go through the whole thing again, just as you did when you walked, when you ran, when you rode a bike, when you hit your first forehand, your first backhand, or whatever it was, when you went to school, you did all of this in that format. That's a flow chart. The flow chart is the same. You can have self-confidence if you actually do the work. The self-confidence is not something that rains down from the heavens. Some people have got more self-confidence than others. Some people, but they've developed it too, by the way. They know so much, there's so much that they can do. They know that. They have a faith in that. They have a belief in that. They've done the discipline. They've done the persistence. They've done it all, and there you see them. People that are much better at talking in public than I am, they've done it all. You can do anything you like with self-confidence, but you've got to do this over and over and over again. What will you do after today? Will you go away and just think about it? Or will you start to write these things down? Because as soon as you write them down, it's becoming a bit of an action step. Once it becomes an action step, we need to take some actions off what you've written down. We need to go out into the world a little bit. Just as you did with me, if you came to me when you were a tennis player, I didn't just talk about how to hit a forehand. I'd hit the ball to you and you had to actually do an action. And then I'd say, well done, but let's do this. And then you learnt. You went through the same process over and over and over again. And the forehand, most of the time, was brilliant. And then you go to the backhand, the same thing happened. All over again. How many times do you need to be told this? The repetition. How many times have you heard this? The repetition. How many times have you been told to persist? How many times have you been told that this brings discipline? How many times have you built a belief? How many times did you have faith? How many times did you just know? How many times have you done this? You've done it enough to know this. This is what it takes. After today, you can have self-confidence. All you need to do is follow the flow chart. All you need to do, persist, number 1. Discipline will come, number 2. Belief will follow soon after, number 3. Faith will come too, number 4. Boy, you'll make a bit of a leap, you'll know, number 5. And then finally, you're a master. And I'll take my hat off to you. And you've mastered. I'll say, I know that person. They listened to me a long time ago, and look at them now. That's all about self-confidence today. I hope that's helped. But before you go, I'm just going to tell you about what's coming up. Just bear with me a little bit longer, please. So next week is the 14th of September, and it's 10 a.m. to 10 a.m. to 10 a.m. Forgiveness of self and others, live, Facebook. This will be live on Facebook again, Melbourne time. The following week, Wednesday the 21st September, 21st of September, 10:20 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Who are you? The classic question. Let's discuss that together on that day and find out exactly what you are. MBX Elite Plus membership, you know what? If you haven't joined us, you should. For the cost of coffee and cookie per month, about $7.50 per month, which is nothing, as you know. You get all of these programs that you can see behind me and more. And interviews with famous people from around the world. There's so many benefits here for so little cost. We'd love you to be a member with us. Like-minded people, come and join us. And you know what? You can go to YouTube now, MBX YouTube channel, subscribe free, and you get all of what we've put up so far, plus many, many more, all free. So just subscribe, MBX YouTube channel. Look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now. Have a wonderful day.